Thank you for joining today. It's my pleasure to welcome Emergent BioSolutions and the many attendees we have for their virtual recruiting event, focused on really sharing their story, their mission, and the important their work they're doing to save lives, and especially a lot of the work they're doing right now to support a lot of the COVID programs and the immense amount of hiring they're doing throughout Baltimore and the Maryland area. So just as a little bit of housekeeping today, my name is Chris Frew. I'm the president of BioBuzz Media. Our mission is to create engaging experiences that better connect job seekers and employers in the life sciences market. And that's really what we're here to do today. We're here to help you connect with Emergent, understand their mission, and hopefully find an opportunity there that fits what you're looking for. So for today's presentation, we encourage you to ask questions. There's a Q&A app that is at the bottom of your app for the Zoom presentation. Please use that. We're going to be taking some time at the end for question and answer. I'm sure a lot of you will have questions. We are also recording it. So I know everyone's working from home these days. A lot of people are. You might have kids interrupting or dogs or packages being delivered. Don't worry. We're going to get you this presentation out afterwards, so you'll have it. When you do get it also, another thing we want to ask you to do is share this. So there's a lot of great things happening at Emergent, and they need a lot of good people to help achieve their mission. So please share this, share it on social media, share it with your friends. That's why we're going to be sending you the link afterwards. Lastly, we are going to be doing some polls during the event, and we encourage you to take some time to answer those polls and provide some feedback on some of the questions that we're asking. So with that, we're going to start the presentation here. I'm going to play a short little video, and then we're going to pass it over to Saeed, who is the Senior Vice President and Head of CDMO, to start our program. So enjoy, and give me 1 second. We'll start the video.
This is a quest to help save lives. A symphony of science and manufacturing. The journey of a vaccine. A theme emerges. And then a melody. The first movement of our symphony. The first sample of a vaccine candidate. But we're just getting started. We test, write, and rewrite until we find our rhythm. We grow and adapt, building to a crescendo. Millions of vaccine doses ready for staging. And now it's time to share this symphony with the world. Getting these vaccines to the people who need them, that's music to our ears.
All right. Well, if that didn't inspire you, I guarantee this next 60 minutes will. So Saeed, I'll hand it off to you to take it away.
Sounds good. Thank you, Chris. And thank you everyone for joining to our virtual manufacturing recruiting session. It's really exciting to be a part of this session. We have a lot of great things to talk about, and a great opportunity for a lot of my colleagues to be with you today to speak about Emergent, speak about the opportunity, and to speak about our mission to protect and enhance life. Before I jump into some opening comments, I would like to take an opportunity to thank BioBuzz and Workforce Genetics, our Maryland colleague organizations, for helping us set up this session today. And that video certainly, as Chris said, really tees up what we're about. Emergent itself is built off of a 22-year history of providing product and service solutions, ultimately to protect and enhance life. There's a tremendous amount of heart, there's a tremendous amount of expertise, and the mission itself really pulls us together, and we're excited to be a part of the overall national response to this pandemic, and it's creating a significant amount of opportunity for a lot of new and exciting talent to join the organization. So wanted to start off with a little bit of history, as I just did, about Emergent. So when you take a look at Emergent across this 22-year-old history, we have a significant amount of experience in products. We have a significant amount of experience in services. And across that spectrum, we have 3 product business units: vaccines, therapeutics, and devices. And specifically out of our therapeutics business, we are actively engaged in bringing forward therapeutic treatments towards the COVID-19 response. And then we also have our services business unit, the CDMO business, which is also heavily involved in the COVID-19 response. That CDMO business is built off of being what we consider to be a premier integrated contract development and manufacturing organization focused on biologics platforms. And that integrated definition, typically folks in the industry take it to mean being able to provide an end-to-end solution, which we do, from development services, drug substance, and drug product. But we take that definition to a whole nother level, because the power of Emergent and the power of the enterprise here allows us to balance between the customer service and the capacity of a standalone CDMO, but also integrate it with the expertise and the capability of an embedded CDMO, because we've been at the forefront, and we're excited to really combine that into an integrated offering. So that offering itself is playing a significant role as a part of Operation Warp Speed. And the part of that offering and that network, which is really spread across the entire US, Canada, and Europe, across 9 development and manufacturing sites, really hits home within Maryland, because part of the network right here in Maryland between development services, drug substance, and drug product across 4 sites, and specifically the 3 sites that we're talking about today when it comes to Baltimore, having our Bayview facility, which is also our CIADM in partnership with the government, the Camden facility, and also the Rockville facility, are playing an integral role in efforts with Operation Warp Speed. And specifically through that network of capabilities right here in Maryland, we have 5 partnerships in place with innovators, and specifically with Operation Warp Speed. So we're right in the middle of it, providing a significant amount of drug substance support to innovator partners through clinical and commercial supply, as well as rapid development of their processes as well. So it's an effort that certainly requires a lot of capacity and capability and infrastructure, but is nothing without our people and the tremendous amount of talent that's being onboarded to the organization as well. So significant opportunity for Emergent to really step up to the plate based on what we've been built off. And this is another great opportunity for everyone to hear firsthand across multiple facets of the organization what we're about, how proud we are, and how we certainly are looking forward for a lot more colleagues to join us. So I'd like to pass it over to my colleague, BJ Hull, who is Vice President and General Manager of our Maryland manufacturing sites.
Thank you, Saeed. And as Saeed mentioned, it is exciting times right now for the Maryland manufacturing sites for Emergent. Each of the sites is playing a vital, important role in the COVID-19 response. And I'm happy to introduce some of those sites to you so that you can better understand what we're doing at each of the sites. First of all is our Bayview facility. And Bayview facility is our drug substance facility. It was acquired by Emergent in 2009, and in 2012 become a CIADM facility, which is a center for innovation and advanced development and manufacturing. And as it was designed, it was set up to do pandemic responses. It was designed in a flexible, reusable manner. Majority of all the equipment, it uses reuse technology, flexible technology, so that we can clean quickly and have flexible manufacturing to do multi-product. Currently, we have 4 manufacturing suites, and right now, each of the suites has a COVID-19 candidate in the suites. So really busy times at the Bayview facility. When we started the year, we had about 120 employees. So far this year, we have already hired 120 employees. And we're looking to hire at least another 60 more this year. So a lot of opportunity at the Bayview facility. If you have upstream or downstream experience and want to become a part of really what's driving the pandemic right now and where all the action is, the Bayview facility can be for you. If you look at about 4 miles away from here is our Camden, Baltimore facility. And the Camden facility is a non-viral fill finish facility. That facility has been part of Emergent since 2014, but has been a CDMO fill finish facility since the year 2000. So a lot of experience at the Camden facility, have over 40 commercial clients. They supply products around the globe. They have 3 main fill lines at the facility. But with partnership with BARDA, are accelerating a brand new fill line that hopefully will be used to fill finish some COVID candidates as well. Now, the Camden facility is a full functioning CDMO operation. There's labs in the chemistry and micro area. We have packaging areas, inspection areas, manufacturing areas. So a lot of different technologies involved with getting the filled product done. And Camden, as I said, is a non-viral facility. Now, about 40 miles away from there is our Rockville facility. And the Rockville facility is also a fill finish, but they do viral fill finish there. They're currently manufacturing our ACAM product, or smallpox vaccine. But again, in partnership with BARDA, we're accelerating a new fill line there as well. And that fill line will be used again to produce fill finish for COVID-19 viral products. The Rockville facility currently has about 70 employees, and their growth will occur mostly next year. And by the time the 4th quarter of next year comes, they will be more than double that size. So a lot of growth at all the facilities. I didn't mention at the Camden facility, I think currently at the beginning of this year, they were around 270 people. By this time, early next year, they'll be about 340. So lots of opportunities and lots of different roles. And when you think about the pharmaceutical industry, a lot of times people think you have to be highly skilled employees, but we really have openings from entry level in the packaging lines or the inspection area, all the way up through chemistry, micro specialists, supervisors, managers in manufacturing, quality, QC. There are a lot of opportunities to come to the organization. And you think about it, with so many sites so close together, the opportunities for advancement are significant just in this Baltimore area. So I think it's a really great opportunity and a great time to potentially be growing a great organization and a growing organization in Emergent. Now, once you join Emergent, you'll go through a lot of training. Obviously, we have to have a lot of training. We have an electronic learning management system that will guide you through your training so that you can become certified to be able to do the job that you need to do. And then as you talk to your supervisors and managers, you will have an individual development plan developed that is custom to you and where you want to take your career. So again, a lot of opportunities. Excited to talk to you more about it as we go along this presentation. But at this time, I would like to introduce some of the important key people at our facilities. Joining us today from our Bayview facility, we have Mike Maurer and Amanda Ilioff. And then from our Camden facility, we have Brian Cogan, and we have Ernest Williams. Very good. So we'll start the questions here from everybody. And why don't we go ahead and start with Brian. So Brian, why don't you talk a little bit about what you do for Emergent? And I know you've been with Emergent for many years, so maybe you can talk about how you've grown within Emergent and how things have changed since you've been there.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, BJ. Yeah, I joined Emergent back when it was still Chesapeake Biological Laboratories in 2008. So 12 years now at the site. I started as the production manager, only being responsible for the aseptic fillings activities. And then after a short period of time, I took over responsibilities for the inspection and packaging part of the operation as well as the manager. And a few years later, I was promoted to be in the current role that I'm in as the director of manufacturing. So responsible for organizing the operations and the teams that we've heard a little bit about. When I started, there was probably just a little over 100 people, and we're over 300 now. And as BJ said, with the COVID situation has offered us opportunity to serve and hopefully save so many more lives than we already do, day in and day out. So, we're excited to be a part of that potential solution and opportunity to make some of the vaccine at the filling here for some of the successful candidates. And so certainly our partnership with the government is going to allow us to do that in the upcoming months, hopefully, and then through 2021 and potentially beyond. But beside that, we're saving and helping so many lives every day with all the other partners that we have and the drugs that we make day in and day out. There's so many life-saving opportunities. As BJ shared, we make and have products that are distributed in over 70 countries around the world that our partners have approved medications to help so many folks. And then, of course, we're involved with a lot of clinical trials with new up-and-coming drugs and programs that hopefully are successful to help others.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. So let's jump over to Mike, and he's a little opposite of Brian. So Mike jumped in just in the as we were getting ramped up here for our COVID response. So Mike, why don't you talk about your role and maybe your experience since you've been with the organization?
Yeah, sure, BJ. Thanks. I think I just hit my 4-month anniversary last week. So, and you can't call that new. I couldn't call that new after the first week or two, I would say. So things are moving extraordinarily quickly here. If you're looking for a role that is, the same every day and is routine and comfortable, this is not where you want to be, right? We're in a really exciting time where things are changing constantly. We have the privilege of being part of 4 different, COVID vaccine candidates. One of my favorite quotes from the Operation Warp Speed folks is that all roads lead through Bayview. So what that means is, any of the U.S. supply for COVID vaccine candidates is most likely to coming through here. So there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of stress, but really there's a lot of excitement. And I think there's a lot of responsibility and accountability that we're taking as an organization. So it's been awesome. It's been wildly challenging. I had my day planned out in my mind when I got here at 7 this morning. And by about 7:15, that plan was in the trash and I had a whole new plan. But really exciting times, and we're really busy, and we feel like we are on the tip of the spear here. So it's really interesting being here right now.
Thanks, Mike.
Sure.
Now, Amanda, you've been here a little longer, and you've seen probably a lot of changes at the Bayview facility. So as you introduce yourself and what you do, maybe talk about what you've seen from a Bayview perspective as far as change.
Sure. So definitely a lot of change. I've been here about 3 years, almost 3 years. I'm an upstream supervisor. I started at kind of an exciting time too. We were expanding a part of Bayview and expanding to a new area or new suite, so to say. And that was about 2 years ago. And that part of the building wasn't even open when I started. So we were, just operating in 2 suites downstairs, pretty small areas. And now like BJ had mentioned, we are operating in all 4 areas, all 4 suites, working on 4 different COVID related projects right now. So the site has definitely went through a large change, and we are growing every day and really welcoming people from, like you said, all different backgrounds. And like Mike had mentioned, we are fast paced. We're moving at warp speed, I like to say. So we're definitely looking for people from all different backgrounds. Everyone can probably offer something to us to to our ever-growing community. I like to say community because we are pretty much a family here, but we are growing very quickly.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank
So
you.
Ernest, as you, after you introduce yourself, I know you've hired a lot of people into the packaging and inspection areas over there at Camden. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the types of people that you look for and the people that succeed here at Emergent.
Thank you, VJ. Yes, I'm Ernest Williams, Senior Manager of Inspection and Packaging, and I've been here for 4 years. And BJ is right. We've hired a plethora of people into the inspection and packaging area since I've been here, and we've had people from all types of background. I'm prior military. I am a veteran of the United States Air Force, and we brought in some veterans who have transferred their military skills into our pharmaceutical environment quite well. The brotherhood that you have in the military, the camaraderie and the leadership has allowed people to succeed and be able to be promoted within the site itself. We also bring people in with various manufacturing backgrounds, educational skills. We've got college students that come in. We have people that come in from the chemical industries, from other pharmaceutical industries, from the food industries, all bringing a plethora of experiences and skills that help to keep us on the edge of innovation with their ideas, because that's the type of environment and culture that we actually have here in Camden and in Emergent as a whole.
Very good. Thank you. You know, Brian, talk to me a little bit more about the culture at Emergent and how do you see the culture within the organization?
Yeah, sure. So, as I said, over 12 years, it's certainly changed a bit. You know, as you shared at the beginning, we joined with Emergent in 2014, and I think it's really changed since then for the better. We have a set of core values that we talk about all the time at all of the sites across the globe, and I think that's helped give us a common language. As you said, there's a lot of synergies within the sites here in Maryland because we are so close to each other. We're able to help each other, share resources. You know, we have some folks over at the Bayview site for the next few months helping while we're doing all this hiring, and so that kind of one Emergent kind of teamwork, I think is something that I feel across the site here at Camden for sure. There's not a lot of this us and them or production versus quality kind of thing. We're here for the common goal, right? To produce life-saving drugs, and so I think everybody feels that and lets that sort of drive the way they behave and interact with each other.
Very good. So Mike, go more into the whole mission. What does the mission of Emergent mean to you?
Yeah, sure, BJ. I mean, I think, the whole enhance and protect lives is part of our corporate slogan. And I think, that's reality for me. So, when you go to work every day, it can be very easy to get lost in the grind of what you have to get done today. And I think the best reminder for myself and for my team is really to think about what's the outcome, right? Not what's today's outcome, but what is the outcome of what we're trying to accomplish? And it's really about protecting lives, right? So, I kind of talked to it a little bit earlier about our COVID response, but, when I go home and see my family, my wife and kids, my kids ask me about what I do for a living. I mean, how much more fulfilling does it get than saying, I'm making vaccines that are going to save people's lives, right? I mean, I've been in manufacturing a long time. I could probably run factories that make laptops or iPhones or you name it, aspirin or whatever. But reality is the fulfillment comes from knowing that I'm making something that's going to help somebody for real, that's going to really potentially save lives.
That's great. Thanks. Amanda, could you just maybe talk a little bit about what attracted you to Emergent and maybe, what keeps you here at the company?
Sure. So I've always been kind of interested in public health, world health, and that's pretty much our mission at Emergent. And then upon arriving here, that is their mission and what we're really working towards every day. And living in a pandemic right now kind of makes you see things full circle. We prepare for this every single day, but you don't really ever get to know if you're going to get to live to see a pandemic or be in something involved in this. So it's kind of really great to be a part of something that we prepare for every day. And now we are using what we make and produce here every day to help the world. And that kind of keeps me here at Emergent, keeps me going. You know, there might be long days or hard days, but in the end, like Mike said, you know, when we go home to our families and we realize, oh, wow, we're protecting our families, our kids, our aunts and uncles, stuff like that. It kind of makes everything worthwhile. And that's what really keeps me here. I really like our mission, and I like what Emergent is always aiming for, or always looking in for the future, so we can always better ourselves to stay on top of things.
Great, thank you. And Ernest, so obviously with everything going on, it's stressful times, and there's so many things going on in every direction at the sites. So what is the company doing to help that and help the people during this pandemic?
Well, as you said, this pandemic has brought a stressful time, and we're living in unprecedented times at this moment. So the site, one, there's constant communications about, you know, where we stand as a site when it comes to our pandemic response. There's always open communications about how to handle this type of stress. There's community environments that we have within the network for people to have open discussions, you know, about these stresses, about how to handle it. People offering information to one another and really supporting one another as a family. That's the one thing that is amazing about Emergent, is there's a sense of family amongst all sites. You know, we're not on individual silos. We're one collaborative group of people with the same mission and goal, understanding there's a quality of life that has to be maintained for each individual within the team, and it's for the team as a whole.
Sure, thanks. Brian, so again, a lot going on at Camden. So what do you see as your biggest challenges going into 2021?
Yeah, some of it's going to be, you know, how we pull this all off, right? As I said, we have a strong core business here already of probably 40 or 50 other active programs and drugs that we make on a daily and weekly basis. And so we're so excited to be part of this COVID response. It's impacted all of us. You know, Ernest just shared a little bit, and everyone here online, of course, has their own challenges and their own experience with the difficult times that we're in. However, it's impacted your life, whether personally or professionally. And so we're so excited to be a part of, you know, to hear on the news, you need hundreds of millions of doses, right? We won't do that, but we're going to do our part and make a few million at least, and hopefully even more than that. And whether it's the bulk drug over at the Bayview site that then gets filled somewhere else if it has a viral component and can't come here, or we fill it here on our fill lines. And so the challenge next year is going to be how logistically we do that, supply chain, you know, concerns, and then hiring people, which is why we're here today trying to talk to folks online. We need your help, and we hope that, you know, we can find some good folks to join the family and be part of the team here. Again, hopefully you've heard a couple times now how excited we are and how fulfilling it's going to be part of the solution to this difficult time.
Sure. You know, Mike, you touched on it a little earlier, talking about, you know, some of the work you were doing with OWS and client partners. Can you talk about that a little bit more? I'm sure people have concerns about how rapidly we're going. Talk about the partnerships with the clients and the government agencies and how that works.
Sure. Thanks, BJ. So I would say from a client perspective, you have a pretty usual setup with our clients. I would say that, you know, they have processes they deliver to us. We execute their processes through tech transfer. They have people in plant to help us. They bring in subject matter experts. We have our own. They partner together to try to make sure that the process they're trying to run fits the facility and we can execute it right. Then when you talk about Operation Warp Speed and the U.S. government, from a help perspective, you know, they've done a variety of things to help us. Some of the more notable ones I would say is if we're having challenges with supply of different materials, components, raws, things like that, you can imagine that right now every biotech pharma vaccine maker in the world is trying to get a COVID vaccine out there. So everybody is very much demanding from a limited number of vendors and suppliers. So Operation Warp Speed helps. They intervene when necessary to try to help prioritize, and they've directly helped us to get materials that we need to keep the processes flowing. So there's a ton of different things. I would even say that from a people perspective, we've gotten some folks from the Department of Defense to come join our team to help out, right? So from materials to people to expertise, we have to have that collaboration across all three prongs of that, right? Between Emergent, our clients, and the government.
Very good, thanks. Amanda, talk about maybe what experience does somebody need to come and work in your department? What are you looking for?
Sure. So I see people even commenting in the chat about this. So you really don't need prior experience depending on what position you're looking for. I think like Ernest said, we do have people that come straight out of college. You don't need to have a lot of experience. Kind of everything that we're doing here, you're going to learn hands-on. We don't expect you to know what a 4,000 liter bioreactor looks like. Most people haven't seen a bioreactor. You should have some basic general science skills, but just being organized, willing to learn, willing to want to expand your horizons in the work field, and kind of, doing the mission that we're working towards every day is really all you really need to come here. We are looking for some QA, QC type people. I can't really expand on that as much, but as far as manufacturing goes, anyone with like a buffer or media prep, kind of a baseline, that's pretty good. Any aseptic experience, we definitely need. A lot of the stuff, is in a biological safety cabinet. So we are looking for anyone like that, but it is not mandatory. We'll take somebody from all levels of expertise and backgrounds. They might have a different outlook that we haven't even seen yet. So
very good. All right, Ernest, let's end this part with a question for you. What excites you about Emergent?
We save lives. We do not make widgets. We save lives. There is a purpose for what we do every day. And every day is different. You've heard some of my colleagues state that they come in the morning, you have one plan, and 15 minutes later, there's a new priority, there's a new idea, there's some new innovation, and we're running with it every day. There's continual growth. There's continual interest. There's new technologies, new processes. There's engagement across the sites. There's collaboration from one site to the other. It's absolutely amazing to be a part of Emergent.
Very good. All right, that's a great way to end it. So do we have other questions teed up for people?
We do. We have some questions. I just wanted to circle back to the team and add in one additional question, because I think a lot of what we've been talking about is our direct contribution to the current COVID-19 vaccine development and manufacturing. So I have a question for Brian that I think will really hit home with people. I mean, one of the first partnerships that we signed was with Novavax. It was to support them in their phase one clinical trial. And that was an opportunity for us to really become integrated, because we worked on development services, we worked in drug substance, and then that same drug substance from Bayview went right into Camden for filling and finish. And from start to arrival at their clinical site, that took about 90 days, which is certainly unheard of. So that's not possible without the connection of the people and the culture. So Brian, if you could just touch on for the audience here, I mean, what that took and what you really saw in the behaviors and attitude of our people to pull that off.
Yeah, sure, Said. It's you've heard a couple of us now mention it's easy to be motivated when you're working on something so exciting and so important, but it involved a lot of things you've heard. We had daily morning meetings with us as well as with the Novavax partner to make sure everyone had the priorities for the day. There's a lot that goes into making a vaccine candidate in such a short period of time, to transferring the test methods, to getting the materials here, to formulating and aseptically filling, to visual inspection and packaging the product, and all of those. And of course, in our industry, it's very paper record driven. You're making a As Ernst said, you're not making widgets, right? We're making sterile injectable drugs here. So it has to be done right, and you can't cut corners. And so all of those things typically take time. But we challenged ourselves to why does it need to take so much time? Why does it need to take a month to write a batch record? If you got everybody together in a room, which is what we did, and lay out the steps, why can't we do it in a few days instead of a whole month? And so we challenged each other, and we needed to work together to do that, to sort of change some of our mindset of how the process we think was supposed to go, and still do it right. And so how exciting, as you said, Saeed, to produce several batches for them, to be able to have them go and start their trial in Australia in record time. In a collaboration of not just inside Emergent, but with Novavax. I mean, they're developing it kind of as we were going along, and then have opportunity to make the product at Bayview, and then have it come and fill over here was, sort of take that full circle as you've described, Saeed. The sort of full service of the CDMO offering that we could have. Yeah, so we're proud of that, right? Sure, we still talk about it, although we haven't made another batch for them in a few weeks now. It's exciting to do that, and it took a big lift for us, to do that in such a short period of time, but it can be done. So I think you see on the news and here, people are, there's public are concerned about how fast some of these vaccines are being developed, but it absolutely can be done right and be done safely.
Great. Thank you, Brian. That was very helpful, and it also brings up another point, about we've talked about the engagement and the direct interaction with the innovators, with the government, and then there's also the direct interaction with the FDA as well. So certainly we have a longstanding track record and history with the FDA, and we've taken that in a very proactive manner to ensure that everything that we do is in lockstep, from a quality standpoint, from a compliance standpoint. I mean, everything that's happening right now is in an unprecedented way. So really from a career standpoint, opportunity, this is an opportunity to be a part of something where you can help write the book of how this is done, to be prepared in a pandemic response type of situation. And that's one of the also aspects, just to share, from my perspective, why I joined Emergent. I've been at Emergent about 13 months now, and there is a very strong aspect of what drove me here, which was the culture. And the colleagues on the line today have talked about it, but going back to that 22-year-old track record of history, Emergent comes from humble beginnings, one site, one product, one customer. And we have a lot of leadership that have been with us from the ground up, that have helped build the company. So it's a very evolving family. It's a dynamic family. It's a family that is welcoming with open arms, new perspectives, new mindsets. We're in a growth phase. And there was a question in the chat about the long-term business prospects. And I take that back to, one of the reasons that I joined here. There is no other life sciences company out in the industry that looks at products and services on an equivalent platform. So this is really where, if you have experience in products and want to learn about services, great opportunity. If you have experience in services, and you have a CDMO background, but you've always wanted to be on the front line and understand what it takes from an inside out to develop a product, you can get that at the same company. And we embrace the fact that our manufacturing facilities develop and manufacture our own products, as well as provide services to innovators. That mindset is really very unique. So there's a tremendous opportunity to really, leverage the foundation that we have here, and take it to another level and have an impact on the industry. And that brought me here, and that's exactly what we're doing. The other aspect, just to reinforce the point on the culture, and I'll just share a quick story. I mean, Emergent is very transparent and very focused on employee communication. We had one of, I think, numerous all-employee calls yesterday, specifically on COVID-19, what we're doing, how we're operating under it from a communication standpoint. And our management team is very engaged. And the way that call was ended was, in fact, that our CFO, who has a musical talent, shared a music video of him putting together a song with a lot of his college friends. I mean, I think that says a lot, especially in today's climate with, you know, all the different types of cultures in companies. So here you have a life sciences company who you may think is a bit too sciencey, but, you know, we also focus on employees, like to have fun, and, you know, bring a true human element to it. So it's a, you know, it's a great organization. It's an organization that takes into account the human element of what we're all made up of, and really brings it all together. So I really just wanted to add that perspective as we jump into some additional questions. One of the questions here is related to a bit of folks' background, right? Whether it's science or whether it's engineering. And one of the questions is specifically related to, you know, if I have, you know, biotech experience, but it's on, let's say, the product side, is it applicable to the services side? So perhaps, you know, Mike, if you wanted to address that one.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think having relevant experience, of course, is going to give you a leg up. And I think, yes, across both product and services, it will absolutely help. I think, you know, we didn't talk yet a lot about kind of the characteristics we look for in folks that join us. I mean, it's important that you either have a technical capability and background or you can build it through learning, right? But more, I'll say not more importantly, but maybe harder for us to teach is kind of around the behaviors and the values. So, you know, we want folks that are going to come in here that are going to own it, that are going to work with us. One of our values is stand shoulder to shoulder. We want people that are willing to do that. They're going to come in, they want to help, right? This is, you know, an important element of what we do is that we are in it together. There's, you know, this is we, not me, right? So I think it's an important piece to highlight. You talked about culture. Maybe this is a good way to weave it into culture. What are the values that we're looking for?
Yeah, it's a great point. And I'm going to open it up to BJ as well. And one thing I wanted to add on culture is, you know, and our CEO said this in our virtual recruiting event that we partnered with OWS on. I mean, there is a strong sense of a culture of accountability. So, you know, as much as we've talked about how exciting of an opportunity this is and the mission that we're on, I mean, every single colleague in the organization is committed to providing a solid day's effort. So it's a fast-paced environment. You have an opportunity to be a part of the forming as well as driving the day-to-day business. But what comes with that is a culture of accountability. So if that is not the type of culture for you, certainly, you know, it's not going to be a fit. And just even us talking about those type of things, I mean, it hopefully gives everyone a flavor of how transparent we are. And to Mike's point, the criticality of behaviors and attitude, because we can't script every day, but, you know, as long as we give a solid day's effort, we got a really good chance at, you know, meeting that end goal. But BJ certainly I think the group would appreciate your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, thanks, Saeed. So, you know, one of the things I always talk about for people when they want to think about joining this industry is, you got to understand we're heavily regulated, and we have a lot of processes and procedures that have to be followed. They have to be followed for a lot of great reasons. So you have to have the discipline, you have to have the organization to be successful in what we're doing. You know, but when I think and sit back and think about the company, and I've been with the company 5 years now in a leadership role, and I think about what makes Emergent different, and what, in my mind, what it comes back to is it comes back to such a focus on leadership and people and culture. When we get together as a senior leadership team, we're talking 75% of our time on people and culture. You know, there are other organizations that will tell you that people are the most important asset. but I truly believe Emergent has the right focus and understands that if we set up the right culture, we have the right people, we have them engaged, we will be successful. And that has proven to be the case with this organization. So I think that really is the thing that always stands out to me when I think about Emergent.
Thank you, BJ. That's such a great point. Just shifting to another question here, Ernest. You had mentioned that you are a vet, and thank you for your service to our country. Would you recommend certain roles that veterans should consider at Emergent based on making that transition?
I have found that those veterans that have come away from the service with strong leadership skills around coaching and mentoring and development of people have done rather well in team lead, supervisor, manager type positions. So those lead type positions where they are able to engage people, to encourage people, to motivate people, they do extremely well.
Yeah, I saw a question come up about people from maybe the aviation or aerospace field. You know, if you're currently working in a heavily regulated environment, and aerospace certainly and aviation would fall into that category, you have the skill set that's needed to succeed in the pharmaceutical industry. Obviously, you would have to transfer some technology and some skills and learn those. But if you're successful in that type of environment, you can be successful in our environment as well.
Another question with respect to our operating practices. So, I mean, during the COVID-19 situation, how are we protecting employees? So perhaps BJ, you want to start, and then maybe Mike and Brian?
I'm sorry, Saeed, I was trying to read a question. Could you repeat that?
Sure. How are we protecting our employees during the COVID-19 times?
Sure, absolutely. So we have a very detailed process of protecting our employees, and it is the number one thing we think about as we're coming to work every day, is to make sure our employees are safe. We have procedures as far as wearing protective equipment, regular cleanings of all the workspaces. Obviously, we're a pharmaceutical industry, so normally our areas are very, very clean, but we've even upped the cleaning in those areas. Anytime somebody has any symptoms at all, we quickly round up, and we have teams at each of the sites that have been trained in how to react to any sickness that occurs at the site. So we quickly look at where they've been, who they've been in contact with, and we do a complete contract tracing of that situation. Whether or not they have been shown to be COVID positive or not, we take that stand with anybody that shows symptoms. And then we also have a steering committee that is overseeing a vast process that we put in place to make sure our employees are safe. We have a lot of employees that work from home, and we try to encourage people to work from home when possible. But we also manufacture drugs, so a certain number of people have to be on site at all times. But we maintain a distance apart. We make sure everybody maintains a distance. We've designed some of our workspaces so that we have separation at the work environment. So we've done a lot to try to make sure we can keep our people safe. And so far, we've been very successful.
Thank you, BJ. Shifting gears a little bit, you know, we've talked about the history of the company. We certainly feel we have a corporate and social responsibility. Amanda, can you talk a little bit about our CSR events and initiatives?
Sure. Actually, upon joining Emergent, this was one of the things that I was really excited about and got involved in right away. So, you know, every day we get caught up in our work, but we also do a lot of things outside of our work for the community that we're currently living in. The corporate social responsibility group really gives a lot of money to fundraisers around the area or events that are happening. We have groups of people here at Emergent that go to Meals on Wheels, prepare the meals that are delivered to the community. We do something with Barks, which is an animal shelter, one of the largest in Baltimore. We provide them a lot of funding. and we volunteered at their events that they've had. We did a Light the Night event last year that was for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. That was a great event, and Emergent had a huge setup, and we kind of displayed our name, but also was there to represent that we were there for a good cause too. We've judged high school STEM events. We've got called in to, judge a science fair. We've cleaned up the communities in this area and just cleaned up outside of our site. So it's definitely important to be at work every day, but it's also important to get out in the community and share our mission, and take care of people other ways. It's not just all about vaccines. Sometimes, we can also help out in other ways. And Emergent is really, really, homing in on however we can help people. We definitely do.
Great, thank you. Just one more extension of that question. Certainly with COVID going on right now, but pre-COVID, can you talk a little bit about some of the fun team building activities that the colleagues have done?
Sure. So yes, pre-COVID, we had a lot of fun here. Our holiday party is always a hit. Here at the Bayview site, we've had multiple bowling events. We've had cookouts out front. We have grills out front, picnic tables, and just some days we're like, hey, let's meet on the front lawn and grill things today to kind of take a break for lunch. We have done plenty of other events in the community, but there's also team bonding events. We've had happy hours and all other things. Pre-COVID, now we're a little restricted, but we're still trying to do some social things to try and keep up. People still meeting new people, since we are expanding so much. It's important to try and connect with the new people on site, and try and show them a little bit of how culture used to be before pre-COVID, so we can still make them feel welcome and make them feel like family.
Great, thank you. So there's also a question with respect to the growth that we're seeing, across Maryland as well. So we've talked about the Bayview site from a drug substance standpoint. We've talked about the Camden site from a drug product standpoint. The Rockville site, as BJ had pointed out, that's a site that's also growing as we're expanding. So we're actually expanding with a new fill line, a state-of-the-art fill line that's going to be put in place in record-setting time. Typically, that type of expansion takes about 3 years, and we're looking to do that in half the time. So we're ramping up there accordingly. We also have our other locations, based on one of the questions, is in Gaithersburg, Maryland, which is where we do development services. So we support from a process and analytical development there, and some non-GMP manufacturing, and then that also ties into the large-scale manufacturing facilities as well. So, that's just a snapshot to the question out there on the long-term business prospects. It speaks to the diversity of Emergent's business profile across products and services. And certainly the other aspect is we are in an active growth mode. 2020 is the first year of our latest 5-year strategy push. So there's a lot of growth across all the businesses. What we've now been able to do so far is certainly cement ourselves as a leading CDMO service provider in the industry. So we are by no means a one-hit wonder. There is a significant portfolio in play. We're adding the capacity, and the talent opportunity for candidates here is, I think, as everyone has heard, whether you're at the beginning of your career, you're at the mid stage of your career, or you're at the very experienced part of your career, there is an opportunity within one company to still add to your repertoire, to still pave some more pathways and avenues of career paths and functions and opportunities to join. Another question that just came through was, how do you evaluate the skills of new engineering grads willing to join this regulated industry? So we've touched on this a little bit, but I think I'd like to pass that over to Brian and then Amanda. When you're assessing a candidate that perhaps only has internship experience and has the education, how do you assess that candidate? Brian, you
sure.
wanna
So,
start?
yeah, so hopefully we've shared, and if not, I'll try to be more clear. We have openings at all levels, right? So we have manufacturing associate jobs that are more entry level. We have bioprocess associates that are in the clean rooms and running the aseptic equipment, and so those have a little bit more requirement typically for experience. Ernest has shared in his inspection and packaging team, there are some entry level jobs, so as well that need little experience. So when we have people that have just education, like the example you just gave, Saeed, an engineering degree, and maybe they did some internship in college, those are great people to bring in at some of those earlier or entry level jobs, because we know they have the basic skill set to go through college and be organized and disciplined enough to do that, and got some experience, at least if they did any kind of internship. That's really, we look on that pretty highly, because we know at least they got a little exposure to some work environment, some process that they were working on, or experiments they were doing, whatever it might be. And so that critical thinking, I think, hopefully it comes out when you meet an interview. But
Great.
those are things that we look for.
Great. Amanda, did you want to add anything to that?
Sure. I was just going to say, when looking at candidates, we're really going off of a lot of personality. We just went over how we kind of are a family and stuff. So, just talking to the people trying to pull out, if they don't necessarily have the technical skills, what other skills they could offer us. Are they organized? Are they, willing to work any shift? Are they flexible? What are the things they could offer to the team? Pretty much, if they don't have necessarily the technical skills, what other things do they think that they could offer to Emergent to better our organization, and kind of where they want to go with their career. That kind of sets them up for what position we would really line them up for too.
Yeah, if I could just add one thing to that, Saeed. The thing I would add to that is, especially for somebody young coming out of college, this should be something you're passionate about. And that passion should come through in an interview. And if you truly are passionate about it and that comes through in an interview, you can be successful.
Great. Thank you, BJ. And certainly, appreciate all the interaction, all the questions. Thank you to all the colleagues who spent their time on the panel. And I think BJ summed it up best, right? I mean, if you have the passion, this is a very exciting place for you to, have a career, not just, one stop. So I'd like to thank everyone and welcome everyone hopefully soon to Emergent. Chris, I'll pass it back to you.
It's a great way to end it, Saeed. We hope that a lot of people will be joining you. I know with all roads going through Bayview, I know we're all counting on it. So again, just as a wrap up, I want to thank everybody. To me personally, something that stood out that BJ said was that 75% of your conversations around people and culture. And, if that doesn't define what type of organization you all are, I don't know what does. So thank you all for taking time out of your days to share your story with the audience that we have. To all the panelists, please visit Emergent's Career Center. I know you've been seeing some chat throughout here about where you can apply, but I encourage everybody to go ahead and apply. Check your inboxes. We'll be following up with you shortly also to share the recording for this, a couple other questions, and some people reaching out to potentially schedule meetings with you to talk further about careers. So please keep an eye on your email box around that. And with that, we'll close things. Thank you again to all of the presenters today, and we'll let you get back to your mission.